Welcome, welcome. Thank you so very much for tuning in to Just Enough Spice. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Before I get into this next video, I do want to say a few things. One, these are just my opinions. And two, these opinions stem from me being a business owner in Freetown, Sierra Leone, and what I think the educational system has to do with entrepreneurship in Freetown, Sierra Leone. So in my last video, I indicated that I wanted to talk a little bit about the educational system in Freetown, Sierra Leone, and how in my mind, I think that if we tackle the educational system, that more of our people, Sierra Leoneans, will be able to open businesses. Because what I have observed is the majority of the businesses that I see being ran in Freetown, Sierra Leone seem to be owned by people not from Sierra Leone. And I think, again, that education plays a big part, and how we navigate our educational system might be a way for us to maybe get a bigger chunk of that entrepreneurial system. So the educational system in Sierra Leone is divided into 4 stages. First, there's the primary stage, which is the first 6 years. And then there's the junior stage, which is about 3 years. And then there's the secondary or technical training stage, which is another 3 years. And then you go to university, which is 4 years. We currently have roughly about 2.6 million students. We have 11,000 schools, public and private. We have roughly about 83,000 teachers, and we are still falling short. The literacy rate between the ages of 15 to 24 is below 60%, and the overall adult literacy rate is 43%. Why is this? Is there an alternative that we can implement? Why is it that technical schools are looked down upon or not as respected as, say, the universities? Should our children start technical schools earlier rather than starting it at the secondary stage? These are just some of the questions that I have, and I thought I would talk about it as best as I can with regards to what I've seen. So, Freetown, Sierra Leone, it's very interesting, but we have about an equal amount of private schools as we do public schools. And recently, we have, or at least the government has implemented free schooling for anybody that wants to go to school. However, we are so used to doing the private schools, or at least we're used to sending our kids to private school. And so it seems as though people that were in private school generally are sticking with the private school. Now, the public school, yes, they say it's free, but is it really free? At the end of the day, you have to come up with, or the parent has to come up with, the uniform, any materials the child might need, book bag, and pens and pencils, rulers, any of those things the parent is responsible for. So at the end of the day, even though it says free, it's technically not free, because you are, as a parent, going to spend a significant amount of money to send your child to that free school. The problem with the public school system, and one can say, well, at least they have a public school system, and that is really good. They're trying in that aspect. But the problem that I see for the public schools in Freetown, Sierra Leone is, one, lack of motivation, because the teachers, for instance, are not getting paid as much as, say, a private school, and so there's no motivation to really work. Some of these teachers are not necessarily being paid what it is they believe that they should be paid, or what a teacher generally makes. So if a teacher is going to be paid more in a private school versus a public school, they're going to run to private schools as opposed to staying with the public schools. The Teaching Service Commission is the body that governs, I guess, the teacher being approved to be paid full salary as opposed to a stipend. And for the public school, it seems like there's a backlog of some sort where not many of the teachers that are teaching for the public schools have this pass from the TSC. And until you are approved by the TSC, you will be getting a stipend as opposed to teachers' pay. And the stipend, from my understanding, it's very, very minimal. And therefore, if there's a backlog and there's a likelihood that they're not going to get to my name if I'm a teacher anytime soon, I'm going to go to a private school and try to see if I can get a job over there. The students that were interviewed by Sierra Leone Network Discovery were talking about the fact that these are kids that are in a public school. The students were talking about some of these teachers not showing up to school for days at a time, and sometimes if they do come, these are the teachers that are presumably on stipends and have gotten a job at another school, a private school. But if the teachers come in, it'll be for like 30-40 minutes. And of course, if you're getting 30-40 minutes of education in a day, there's a likelihood that your education is substandard. When it comes to the private school, most people in Sierra Leone tend to send their kids to private school thinking that they're getting a better education. The problem, or one of the problems with the private schools, from my understanding, is that not all teachers have the educational backing to teach the kids. And since there's no governing body that's making sure that these teachers have passed whatever standard it is that's needed to teach, there is a likelihood that even though it's a private school, you're going to get substandard education there as well. Public school, private school, whatever you want to call it, at the end of the day, there's an affordability issue in the sense that if it's a private school, the parents have to pay for every and anything, and the fees are really high compared to what the parents are actually earning. Public school, you're still going to have to pay for things such as the uniform, and basically everything you pay for in private school, you're going to pay for in public school. You are probably going to pay a little less because you're not actually paying for that teacher to teach you. Nonetheless, it is not going to be free. So if the parent is starting off with the option of paying or paying more, and the parent is earning not enough to put the child through school, you can see how a lot of these kids drop out. When it comes to the private school, the main thing that you're going to keep in the back of your mind, obviously, is that the parent is paying more, or at least paying school fees. And what I gather from the private school versus the public school is, so public schools cannot pay teachers that do not have a teaching certificate. Private school will be more accommodating and will actually pay a salary to a teacher, in quotations, that does not have a certificate. So you then think, are you getting, or what is the standard of, or level of education that child is getting from the public school, where in order for the teacher to be paid, they must have a teaching certificate, versus private school, where even if you're coming without a certificate, you will get paid a salary. As I said again, the literacy rate in Freetown, Sierra Leone, between the ages of 15 to 24 is below 60%, and total adult literacy rate is 43%. There must be something that we're doing wrong. We cannot have 11,000 plus schools and our students or our kids are not getting the education that they need for them to be considered literate. So when talking about the fees for school, obviously this is a burden that's put on the parent, and normally if it's too much of a burden, the parent will pull the child out of school. And if the child is unable to go to school due to the fact that their parents are not able to pay for school fee, that child is going to be left behind. The normal or no, the general reasons why we have such low attendance in school is because of either poverty, early marriage and or pregnancy, and living arrangements. My thought, and this is just my opinion, instead of starting technical or trade school in, say, the secondary phase, my thought would be that if the kids were to start after primary education, because I think that we can identify early on that child that likes math, reading, English. I know that early on I could identify as a kid what I liked and what I did not like. And I think that if focus is put on primary school to identify what a child likes, or if they are a true academic type individual, and if not, segueing them into technical schooling or trade schooling when they get to junior high school, I think would help to, one, alleviate so much school fees for the parents. Two, if the parent is paying less school fee and the child is getting to the technical aspect of schooling earlier on, that they would get out of school earlier rather than going through junior high, going to the secondary phase, to then find out that, maybe I'm not that person that's going to make it to university. This is just a thought that came to my mind when watching the level of students that end up actually graduating, or the level of students that actually drop out for whatever reason. And obviously the main reason being my family is too poor. I cannot continue to afford school. I have to go ask my other family members or relatives to see if they will pitch in and pay for school. If the parent enrolls the child in a technical school, once they've identified that this child is not thriving in the academic world, the fact that the parent is now paying for a trade school or technical school earlier on in life for the child makes it, to me, more likely that the child completes that technical school and becomes a productive member of society. These are just my thoughts as to what can be done to get the child prepared for life after school. So again, once it's identified that that child is going down the path of trade and or technical schooling as opposed to the academic route, which again I think can be identified as early as end of primary school, because I know after primary school I knew that there are certain things that I wanted to do and certain things I did not like. If it is identified early on, the child could start learning basic life skills, learning how to balance a checkbook, learning how to open a bank account. And this is where that trade school or that technical school can then have some kind of an agreement with the bank where one day out of, say, the semester or the year, the kids go to the bank, whatever bank the school contracts with, and they open bank accounts. You can open a bank account with very little amount just so that they know how to have a bank account, write a check, balance a checkbook. And to me, nothing teaches better than doing what it is you are actually teaching the child to do. So rather than just teaching them how to balance a checkbook, they open an account and try to balance that checkbook. Apart from having an arrangement with the banks, another thing that these technical or trade schools can do, at least for that first year, is also identify businesses that are willing to mentor these kids and or have them go to their place of business and do internships. There are many things that we can do to help the youths get ready to at least be able to navigate the business sector of Freetown, Sierra Leone. And slowly but surely, if there are businesses that are willing to accommodate or have these kids do internships, it will at least have the youths ready to participate in the economic system one way or the other. If the literacy rate between the ages of 15 to 24 is below 60%, we are obviously doing something wrong, and anything else would be better than what we are currently doing. These are just my thoughts. I am sure that there are a lot of other things out there that we can do to help the youths get ready for when they get out of school, whatever school that is, to be able to be a productive member of society. Please, I encourage any comments in the comment section, as that will at least start a discussion on how we help our youths be prepared or better prepared to live in Freetown, Sierra Leone, and possibly be able to open businesses of their own. Once again, thank you so very much for tuning in to Just Enough Spice. Thank you very much for showing me the love and support, and thank you for the new subscribers. If you guys like this video, please give it thumbs up. Please share and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.